Welcome to ReWired's Sales Doubling Bootcamp, where I promise you'll get at least one way to double your sales, if not 3 to 5 to 10 different ways to double your sales. But all we really need is one, don't we? Imagine the impact of doubling your sales. I've done it. I've helped other entrepreneurs do it. My name's Heather Ramsey, and I'm the founder and head trainer of ReWired Worldwide. We work with entrepreneurs every day to boost their businesses, their sales, their success, and their sanity. And we're known for the dual approach to business, where we boost your outer game business dollars and success, and your sanity or your satisfaction on the inner game of being the entrepreneur at the helm of your business, and how you experience your day-to-day building your business and of exchanging your value for cash in the marketplace. Because in a nutshell, that's what business is all about. So really, I think I want to ask you a question, which is, what's the missing piece in your sales process? Or maybe you don't know that answer, and hence why you downloaded the sales closing checklist. And if you haven't yet, yes, this video will give you, this live training will give you training directly on 2, if not 3 different ways to increase your closing strategies on sales. And it would be remiss of you not to download this sales closing checklist that we took a lot of time to put together, to actually give you a complete list of the before, the during, and the after of every successful sale. So I'm going to touch on a few of them and train you here live on them, and you're going to get the entire checklist. So make sure you download that as well, because the checklist without the training may not work as well for you. The training without the checklist will definitely be incomplete. So the two go hand in hand. And I really want to, if you haven't as well in this sales bootcamp, watched the first training on your sales booking formula, I would highly encourage you to go get that right now. Pause the video. I'll be here. I'll wait for you, in fact. Go get that sales booking formula. That's that first piece of how one email can get you sales booked in your calendar in 24 hours. I remember the first day it happened to me. It was very exciting, and now it happens systematically. So get that sales booking formula, watch that first training, and then come back here to sales closing checklist. Wonderful. So now that you're here with me, you've got the first part. This is the second move in the Doubling Your Sales Bootcamp. What I really want to give you is this promise that I will drill down on at least 3 different ways to increase your closing ratio. Why do I want to do that? Among other reasons, we asked over 1,000 entrepreneurs, what are your biggest challenges in sales? And as you can imagine, some of them were on the front end of the lead generation. And maybe I'll just say, I can sort of recap or encapsulate business in 4 words: lead gen and sales conversion. Those 4 words and those 2 actions, really. And so some people had the challenge on finding qualified leads, and the other challenges were, not surprisingly, on the sales closing itself. And it was, I have trouble asking for the sale. I have great conversations, but I have trouble transitioning into the close. Can you relate to that? I call it, my handle is from coffee to cash. So yeah, you can go out and have a coffee with somebody, but can you turn it into cash? Whether for them, for you, for them, or for both, and or in a ripple effect as referral partners going forward. So from coffee to cash, how do we transition that? And that's really what I want to share with you today. So as we jump in, I want to share also one core belief that I have about selling. And this, I think, could be potentially the game changer for you in terms of the underlying belief that drives us at ReWired, whether it's in ReWired for Success or ReWired for Sales or ReWired for Business as we work with entrepreneurs. And that is, to sell, and you may want to write this down, to sell is to serve. And it sounds almost poetically correct, so you just nod, but when you think about it, you're probably not wired that way. Most people are wired to serve is to serve. If you're a massage therapist, I want to give more massages. If you're a financial planner, I want to, make sure your financial roadmap for your healthy and early retirement is set. Whatever your service is, that's what you do and get paid to do, and or feel you were born to do if your purpose is really aligned to your business, which is great. Yet most people say, but I don't want to sell massage therapy. I don't want to sell financial planning. I don't want to sell whatever you're selling. And yet, if you don't, you won't serve. Simple as that. And hence, to sell is to serve, because the selling is the beginning of the service process. Think of it, I don't really think of sales calls. I think of it as my first private session with somebody, my first call of service. And I literally have it that way. And it's not just nicey nice coffee conversation. It's about their pain. It's about their gain. It's about where they're going from, pain island to pleasure island. So it's very specific to the needs they have, and yet it's also very much in service of where they're going, rather than, I got this product, I'm peddling it, do you want it? That's not the vibration I'm coming from. It's not the intention I'm coming from. It's not the conversational talk track that I even have in my head. So play with that. The actual belief that to sell is to serve. You're actually starting the service process in the selling conversation. That is your first move of serving. So I really want you to write that down, write it, maybe post it on top of a mirror, and play with that new, potentially for you, core belief of to sell is to serve. It almost sounds like one of those, what is the police one, to serve and protect? But regardless, here it is. It's the business core belief or core premise: to sell is to serve. So without further ado, I want to jump into the your sales closing checklist and give you a few tips that will increase your closing ratio. And I'm actually going to start with the first page here, and I'm actually going to read exactly what's here, because I want to make sure you get this. We have in this sales closing checklist written down for you and summarized for you. I could have just jumped to the during unit, but I offered, or I bookended, or I summarized what are the successful before and after units as well. So I want to say that this is a complete for, I mentioned in the first training, there are rookies, people who are rolling, and people who are rocking it in business. And if you're a rookie in business, this might seem like too much to you. So we're going to just jump into the during unit. If you're rolling it or rocking it in business, you might say thank you for mapping out a perfect checklist of exactly what systems I need to have in place in the before and the after units, as well as the during unit. So for this particular training piece, I'm just going to drill down on just a few of the during units. And what I want to share is exactly on this first page, yes, you can just cut to the during unit and increase the cash in your pocket. No, you don't have to incorporate every system that we've highlighted in the before and after unit for you to increase your sales and your success in business. No, we can't teach you everything in one page and one checklist about what there is to sell. But yes, we can absolutely give you at least 3 tips in this training around increasing your closing ratio, which is key in terms of cash. And yes, you can pick even one new move, and that will bring you, richer. You'll be richer with more cash and more clients and more expertise and satisfaction. And the final is, yes, we're glad that you're here, and that you'll be able to, even more ecstatic when you share with us the one sale that you almost lost that instead you gained and you closed because of this sales closing checklist and or this training that you're in right now. So without further ado, it was tough for me, to be honest, to pick which of the ones I would drill down with in this training. All of them are valuable. And when you book a seat in the live training, the webinar training, I will be able to coach you on exactly the one that you want to be coached on. So make sure that you reserve your spot in the live training. For now, I'm going to give you 3 of the ones I want to drill down on. So the first one, they're all in the during unit. So the first one in the during unit that I want to drill down on is actually almost one word that's in the front of it, which is relevant. Relevant need discovery of your prospect. You might have heard of, uncover the needs, etc. People have a lot of seeming needs. You have a lot of hopes that you have needs that your product can fulfill on. But which ones, and these are the traps, a lot of people listen to all of the needs of their prospects and then run out of time. Or they listen to the wrong needs the wrong needs that they can't solve. And therefore, again, it ends from coffee and it never turns into cash. Where just a few simple pieces and shifts in your selling conversation that we're going to suggest for you is to focus on, really here, and I'm going to tick each of these off, is to focus on ones that you have a solution for. It seems very obvious, but I can't believe how many sales conversations I've been at the recipient end of, and they're talking to me about all kinds of things that I'd love in my business, but they actually don't have the solution for it. So make sure that you're asking questions about their needs, of solutions, of needs that you can solve, where you can take from their current pain island to their pleasure island. You have the boat to get there. You have the yacht to get there. You have the cruise liner to get there. So you want to offer them ones where you have the solution for it. Another few pieces is that key is that they have a desire to solve it, like a strong desire. I would even say a burning desire to solve it, because you may be able to solve a lot of things and you might get more excited. You might want it for them more than they want it for themselves. So often I'll turn that part of the conversation into a quantitative as opposed to a qualitative part of the conversation. Well, I'll ask them, okay, we've uncovered a need, and then I'll say to them, on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you to solving this problem? How committed are you to alleviating that pain? Excuse me. And so they might say 4 or 5, and I go, got it. Is there a pain or a need that you have in my wheelhouse? And I would give them those 2 or 3 examples that you're more committed to solving. And then sometimes I uncover, I thought was the problem they wanted to solve, but there is a much bigger problem that they have a much bigger desire or burning desire to solve. So you want to make sure that you are solving and uncovering needs that are relevant, that they have a high desire to solve. And I think the third part is that, and it's not always linked, you might think this is linked to desire, but it isn't always linked to it, is that they are willing to pay for. So they may have a desire to solve it, but they're looking for every free solution on planet Earth. And some free solutions will solve it for them. But many of them, if they're a meaty enough problem and you have a meaty enough solution, isn't a gratis thing, whether in time or dollar investment. And so they need to have a desire to pay for it. And so these are 3 of the subtleties that may shift your closing ratio, because I know a lot of people spend, I'm going to say, a good 70 to 80% of their conversation uncovering irrelevant needs, wrong needs, unsolvable needs, unmotivated or uncommitted needs to solve. So, or ones that they're not willing to put the cash down for. So if you can even reduce that 80 down to 40, you've already doubled your closing ratio. If you can now shift that 40% into focusing on exactly what they have a desire to solve, whether through qualitative questions first, related to your solutions, and quantitative 1 to 10 scales in terms of, and they should have an 8, 9, or 10 desire to solve that problem, and that you can have the solution for. So hopefully that gives you at least a beginning. Again, on our live training, which you need to reserve a seat for, you'll be able to get direct coaching from me on exactly your business challenges. But as promised, I want to give you 3 different areas in terms of increasing your closing ratio. So I was again challenged to pick which one would be the next one. And I think the next one I want to focus in on, a second one, as promised, is a way of reducing resistance, because there's often this tension that doesn't need to be there in the selling conversation. I can feel people coming in sort of tense and guarded into a sales conversation. And one, I don't come in with that because I am already in the intention, as I said, of serving. To sell is to serve. And more specifically, here's what it sounds like to reduce resistance in the selling process. And you may find your own linguistics that you're comfortable with, but here's the linguistics that you may want to write down, even word for word, let alone road test. And it's one of my key ways that I found it came very naturally. It wasn't quote unquote scripted. It came very naturally, and it's very true to me, and that has to be true for you, that it comes naturally and that it's true for you. And I want to give you a scenario, a quick story. So there was this prospect. We'd been in a 6-month conversation about him coming on board in terms of ReWired for Success. He'd had a full day of my training at a live ReWired for Success day. And he says, I want it. I just can't do it now. And I said, I don't want to take your cash now. You're not ready for it. I want you to apply what you got at this full day training and then come back to me when you've ramped up your sales and your success enough to invest in ReWired for Success. So his name was Jeff, and 6 months later, we had a conversation, booked in my calendar. Watch the first video training of how to book sales in your calendar, booked in my calendar 6 months in advance. So we easily and effortlessly, I didn't have to chase him. It was in both our calendars. We picked up the phone and we had this sales conversation, and I could feel his resistance. And in fact, he actually verbalized it when he said, well, I know you're wanting to, go for the close, or I know you're wanting to sell me into your program. And I paused and I said, Jeff, let me tell you, what I'm committed to is I'm committed to guiding you to your best answer. I'm unattached, and I paused, and I could feel him really listening and surprised. And I'm unattached to whether that's a yes or no. I'm committed to you being guided to your best answer. That's what I'm here for. I'm a coach primarily. I'm a guide and a business advisor primarily. And I've guided people to no, and I've guided people to yes equally, and each one of them I felt is the right answer. So that's the track we're on. And I paused, and he just went, wow. And I could tell that it wasn't his paradigm in terms of his own selling process, and that's partly why he was struggling in sales, because he was pushing his product as opposed to really reducing that resistance, and as I call it, being a stand for your prospect. So that is some linguistics that you may want to experiment with or create your own. But in a nutshell, I literally internally and often verbalize that I'm unattached to whether this is a yes or no for you in terms of ReWired for Success. What I'm committed to is guiding you to your best answer. And that has been, and I pause and I let them really take that in, and I say it even slower than I did now, but I want you to write that down and utilize that in one of your next sales conversations, because it is a game changer. Because then you become, and this is I think the third tip, and it's more than a tip, but it's really the third new stance that I want to invite you into, is that I am a stand for my prospects, not just my clients. And I want to actually write that down in terms of be a stand. And you may be a stand now, but potentially for the wrong thing. Most people are a stand for their product. And what I'm suggesting you do is be a stand for your clients' outcomes. That's what I'm suggesting you do. So a stand for your clients, hopefully you can see this, but you can definitely hear it, your clients' outcomes. Being a stand for your clients' outcomes. And what do I mean by that? It's not just philosophical. At the beginning of your discovery process, when you're uncovering needs, when you're uncovering their pain island and the pleasure island they're wanting to go to, and the boat that they don't have, otherwise they would have navigated those uncharted waters with alligators and water snakes and whatever without you. So they need your yacht or your boat to get there between pain and pleasure island. So you've successfully uncovered those needs that they have a high desire to solve and willing to pay for. And now you're coming to that place of there's a reason though that they have resisted their own success, that they've resisted their own progress. And so they're not necessarily resisting you, it can be a pattern of them having resisted or being comfortable on their own pain island. And so this is when you are a stand for them for their pleasure island. And so it could sound like, depending on what it is for you, I'm just thinking of another client, Dale. Dale, I get that you have been struggling with sales, and I get that it would make a huge difference for you if I could show you an easy path to double your sales. And I get that we've done it before for entrepreneurs, and I get that you're teachable, and I get that it's entirely possible for you, and more exciting, what it means for you, which is what you can offer your 4 kids that you couldn't have before. Imagine that trip that you weren't able to take them on, those extra school support that you weren't able to offer them before. Whatever it is for her, being a stand for her or his outcomes as opposed to a stand for pushing your product. So there's more to teach. I highly encourage you to get a seat in the live training. There's only a few of those webinars going on, so book one of those right now so I can work with you in your business directly on your biggest challenge. I've given you, I've drilled down on 3 specific closing strategies or dialogue or intention or stance that I hope shifts you out of fear, out of doubt, out of pushing products, out of, from coffee to cash, as I say, out of these nice conversations and not knowing how to transition into the close. I've given you the unearthing of needs, the proper ones, the bridge to the close in terms of the resistance reduction, and in terms of being a stand for them when the going gets tough, when they might get nervous or wet feet in terms of investing. That's not when you join them in terms of nervous and wet feet. That's when you are a stand for them. So enough said for now. You've got the sales closing checklist. If you haven't downloaded it now, make sure you do. Make sure you move through and select one of, in the before, the during, and after unit. Take action, circle one of them, and book time in your calendar to actually apply and implement one of. And in fact, comment right now in the comments of which of the one on the before, during, and after sales closing checklist that you're going to implement first. Because all you need to do is upregulate one, double your activity in one to double your sales. And that's what we're excited for you in the Sales Doubling Bootcamp and in ReWired for Success, and ensure that you're here when we release in a few days the third part of this 4-part series in doubling your sales. Because you may say, wow, okay, Heather, you've given us a way to book sales better, you've given us a way to close sales better, but I can't just have one-off sales, I need a bigger sales engine in my business. And that's exactly what we're going to address in the third training in the Sales Bootcamp, is 5 ways, literally 5 ways to double your sales. And we've really focused on one. Good news is we focused on one of them really today around the core of the sales closing experience. Great news is there's 4 more to come. And even better news is that we've done the most challenging one. So it's a breeze from here on, and yet it's key to give you 5 different ways that you can cherry pick how to double your sales in your business. Because we here at ReWired for Success give you a foundation of success on your inner game, and then the structures of success and sales increasing in your outer game. And that's what's really important to us. So you're a champion. Leave a comment of your top action that you're going to take. Reserve a spot in the live training so I can coach you live in your business. It's what I love to do more than anything, and I only open up my calendar twice a year to do this, and this is the last time this year. So I open up my calendar twice a year, so anchor in, reserve a seat right now in the live training, and we'll see you in a few days. Looking forward to it. Heather Ramsey, Rewiring for Your Success.